Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our state court expedited accusation calendar. This is a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and brought to the Fulton County Jail, where soon after being booked in, they were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County, Mr. Keith Gamage. If you are not a defendant and you are appearing via Zoom, please remember that a couple of house rules. If you are driving, if you are inappropriately dressed, if you are having your lunch at the present time, we will remove you from the Zoom. So please make sure that you're parked, you're appropriately dressed, and you're not consuming your lunch. All right. If you are a defendant who is charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you care to share with us during these virtual proceedings, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. As you notice, these Zoom proceedings are not only being recorded, but also live streamed. So it'd be very helpful if you do not make any comments and let your attorney speak for you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you from the Public Defender's Office or from the Conflict Defense List. When I call your case, I will be letting you know what is your new case number or accusation number, what are the charges brought against you, who is going to be your counsel, what is going to be your bond amount, and give you a court date if appropriate. Ms. Strong, good afternoon. Do we have a court date, please?
October the 19th.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, folks, if I do give you a court date of October 19th, 2023 at 9 a.m., please remember this is not going to be an in-person proceeding. For the next court date, which we call our state all-purpose, that will also be a Zoom proceeding. So if you do want to attend the next court date, please remember you would need to get a Zoom link from the clerk's office. All right, courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Good afternoon, Judge Law. This is going to be position number 13, Perry.
I'm sorry, I lost you right there. Position number
13, Perry.
13, okay. Mr. Cross, please mute your screen. All right. This is State versus Peggy Perry, accused of simple battery family violence, 2 counts of simple battery family violence from October 4th, 2023. Ms. Perry, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. All right, Mr. Howard, any priors?
No.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Judge. This incident took place at 1004 Cannon Point Circle in Roswell. The victim in this case, his name is Shannon Harvey. That's common spelling, Shannon and Harvey. The witness in this case is Christopher, last name Gangi. They're all roommates. Officers responded to the incident location regarding a fight. The defendant and the witness were in an argument when the victim tried to intervene. The defendant got upset with the victim for, quote, running her mouth all day. So she hit the victim with a cell phone and struck the victim with a shoe that hit the victim in her butt. When officers did speak with the defendant, she did admit to these acts. Due to the limited history, the state would recommend a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, an FFIB course, no contact with the victim or witness, a stay away, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Any objection, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. I have objection to the stay away. This is my client's home. My client is 71 years old. She's never been in any trouble her entire life. She is into philanthropy, and that is what has caused this issue. She tells me that she took some people into her home and allowed them to stay there for a while because they were homeless. And these are the people who essentially turned on her, and they're trying to make her life quite miserable in her own home. And she tells me after a lot of badgering, she just felt a little upset. She did not hit anyone with a cell phone. She absolutely denies that. And she tells me that she had on a flip-flop, which she threw. She was just feeling so frustrated. She didn't intend for it to hit anyone. Asking my client to leave her home is going to be a huge hardship for her. I've already asked her. She doesn't have anywhere else to go, and this is her home. And she tells me she's going to have to evict those people because it is her home, the right to do so. But I would ask the court until she is able to at least evict them, not to stop her from going back to her own home. We, of course, have no objection to the signature bond, Your Honor. We don't think it needs to be through pretrial because my client tells me that, it's going to be a hardship for her. She lives in Roswell to keep reporting to pretrial, and considering she lives 71 years without having any kind of interaction with law enforcement. And she was the one who actually called the police for help, and she ends up being arrested. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Judge, just briefly,
Yeah.
this incident did take place yesterday, so we would argue there has not been sufficient cooling off. Our office did try to contact the victim, and we were not successful. So out of an abundance of caution, we would ask that you impose that stay away. If they want to revisit it, that's fine, but due to this just occurring, we would ask for the stay away.
What was the second victim's name? One was Shannon Harvey. Who's the other one?
The other person was a witness, and his name was Christopher, last name Gangi.
And so this was just that one victim, Shannon Harvey, right?
That's correct.
Okay. On the each count of simple battery is going to be $1,500. It is a $3,000 signature bond for pretrial services. Miss Perry, I'm going to allow you to return to the home. You are to have no further violent contact with Shannon Harvey, which means there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. Otherwise, you get to come back to jail, and then make sure you bring $3,000 with you the next time in order to bond out. If you are dissatisfied with the people living in your home, you need to file a separate dispossessory action. And if you have a problem with them, you can go call the cops and they can try to calm things down. But I'm not sure what happened, but you've been sitting in that courtroom since I think 10 o'clock this morning or 11 o'clock this morning, and I don't think you want to come back. So you have to comply with these conditions in order for your case to move forward. You will be required to report to pretrial, and you're going to have to make plans to visit the pretrial office once a month. It's not every day, it's not every week, it's once a month. So you need to report to pretrial. No violent contact with with Shannon Harvey and any of the other occupants in your home. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. If you own any firearms or anything like that, they have to leave the home and you have to surrender them to the authorities for destruction. Your next court date will be sent to you at your address at Cannon Point, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next case, please.
Position 17, trainer. He does have a private attorney. Where's Mr. Trainer?
Yeah, right here.
Have a seat right here for me.
Yes.
All right, this is State versus Benjamin Trainer, 23 CR 5948G. Mr. Trainer has been accused of stalking and engaging in harassing communications from March 1st, 2023. Mr. Trainer, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Terrell Dark. Do you see Mr. Dark on the Zoom? He was there for a minute, but now I just see a backdrop of a really interesting street scene. Mr. Dark. All right. Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Are you on mute?
Yes, Your Honor. I do not represent Mr. Trainer.
I
Um,
represent Brandon Michael Hall.
That's what I thought. Okay, sorry about that. Who's the private
No
attorney,
worries.
for Mr. Trainer?
Go back and have a seat.
Okay.
Terrell, who's your client? What's the name?
Brandon Hall,
Number 18.
Okay,
Brandon Williams, excuse me.
come on, Mr. Williams.
I'm sorry, yes, Brandon Michael Williams.
No problem. That was position, okay, that's good. That
18.
was my mistake, actually, I read off the wrong position, sorry about that. Brandon Williams is 23 CR 5949B, accused of theft by taking from June 23rd, 2023. And Mr. Williams, your attorney is Terrell Dark. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest. Last was 2019, carrying a weapon within school safety zone. Sale of marijuana. He was recommended.
Okay. Miss Sowry, who's our prosecutor for this matter? All right. Are you on mute, Miss Sowry?
Sorry, Judge. Yes, this is my case. I apologize.
That's all right.
Your Honor, this incident took place at the Tyler Perry Studios located at 2115 Sylvan Road in East Point. The defendant was a production crew employee at the incident location, and he was seen taking equipment pieces worth at least $500 from the warehouse. Your Honor, the defendant entered into a restricted area to obtain these pieces. And further, the items had to be scanned into a system that the defendant did not have credentials for when he obtained them. Officers met with the defendant, and he did admit to taking the items. And he said that he knew he wasn't supposed to be in that area that day, and he should have just alerted one of his bosses in order to do this. The state's recommendation in this case is a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, a stay away if he is no longer employed, an anti-theft course, no contact with the witnesses in this case. Their names are Jeremy, Jeremey, last name Fontnette, and Apeo, last name Afati. Nothing further, Judge.
Yeah. And what's the address of this establishment?
2115 Sullivan Road in East Point.
All right. Mr. Dark, I'm going to grant the $2,000 signature bond through pretrial with the stay away from all of Tyler Perry Studios at 2115 Sylvan Road at this point. I don't care whether he's employed or not, he just can't go there. His boss can send him somewhere else to work. And his next court date will be set. His current address. I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise from somewhere. Are there kids in the background somewhere? All right, I understand, Mr. Dark. I just want to confirm that his address is Western Drive in Fayetteville. Mr. Williams, if you can unmute courtroom 2, is that your current address?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right,
And Your Honor, the only objection I had was to the anti-theft course. My understanding of the situation is my client is factually innocent.
I've not ordered that. I've just required him to stay away from the entire victim location.
Okay,
And,
no worries.
His boss needs to send him somewhere else to work.
Okay, go ahead and stand at the door for me.
All right.
No worries. No
Okay.
other objection. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Dark, thank you. You're free to go.
All right, thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, you're done. Position 11, McNeil.
I apologize, Judge Law. That was no drugs, alcohol, and weapons on that, or are you not?
No, that's just no illegal drugs and no weapons.
Okay.
All right, position 11. This is Kwame McNeil, accused of simple battery domestic violence from October 1st of this year. His accusation number is 23 CR 5945D. Mr. McNeil, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Kim.
Yes.
All right. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
Third arrest, 2019 cruelty in the third, 2 counts. Ag assault, terrorist threats. First offender.
All right,
This was SOB jail recommendation.
all right. Miss Nemini, good morning, good afternoon, sorry.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident happened October 1st at 2947 Meadow Lark Drive. Officers were dispatched due to a physical altercation in which the victim, Mrs. Aja McCormick, got into a struggle with the defendant over car keys. And during that struggle, that's when the defendant pushed her over a brick wall where she got injured. The state was able to speak to the victim, Ms. Aja McCormick, and she states that they are best friends. They are not in a romantic relationship. They do live at that incident location. They don't have any children. She says she wasn't injured, but nothing like this has ever happened before, and she's not in fear of the defendant. Based on those facts, Your Honor, the state is asking for 4,000 SOB. Stay away from that specific location since there hasn't been an adequate cooling off period. No further contact with the defendant. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, and one one day of anger awareness.
Okay. Miss Kim, any objection or?
We would like to request for stay away from jail, Your Honor. Actually, he was arrested on October 1st. The same charge at East Point. He was there for about 3 days and then came to Fulton County yesterday. So even though officially he was booked at Fulton County for 2 days, but he has been in the jail for more than 4 days. So we would like you to consider that for the.
Has he been, Ms. Nemini, do you know why he was at the other jail for an extended period of time? Or did he have a bind over from that other jail? I don't know. Somebody want to tell me what's going on?
Not that I'm aware of. Give me 1 second, Your Honor.
If he had an appearance already in the municipal court, that would just be a bind over to state court. Otherwise, I'll be glad to do a signature bond with no violent contact with Miss Aja McCormick.
Sure.
So it's up to the defense. Are you okay with that? Ms. Kim?
Yes, we are okay with that, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so the bond is set at 2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. McNeil will have to report to pretrial once a month. No further violent contact with Aja McCormick, which means that he can speak and have contact with Ms. McCormick, but it cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And his next court date will be sent to his current address. He needs to attend and complete the one-day anger awareness program administered by pretrial. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 14, Penix.
This is State versus Quentin Penix, case number 23 CR 5944F, accused of battery, family violence from May 21st, 2023. Mr. Penix, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim.
Yes.
Any priors, Mr. Howard?
9 total. Last arrest was 2018, cruelty to animals. It appears to be open in state court. 2017 battery, dismissed. 2015 battery, dismissed. That's it.
Ms. Sowry?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 11680 Great Oaks Way in Alpharetta. Officers responded to this incident location and spoke with the victim, whose name is David Cross, and Cross is spelled Kross. They spoke with Mr. Cross, and he stated that he and the defendant, who is his son, got into an argument a month prior regarding some financial issues. and that the defendant had been threatening the victim. Ultimately, Your Honor, the defendant did have on some boxing wraps and punched the victim in the face, which caused a large and deep laceration to the victim's forehead. It did start to bleed, and the bone was exposed. This resulted in the victim receiving 11 stitches to his forehead. Your Honor, as you've heard from pretrial, this defendant does have an open cruelty to animals case. I would also like to point out that he does have a conviction out of New York for criminal possession of a weapon back in 2014. He did have a 2015 battery family violence arrest and a 2017 battery arrest. The state's recommendation in this case is a $5,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, a one-day anger awareness course, a stay away from the incident location, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Your Honor, the defendant does present a risk of reoffending, and we did pull some jail calls, and it does appear that he has attempted to contact the victim. So there is a risk of intimidating the victim. And Your Honor, the victim is on the call if you could sound when appropriate.
All right. Mr. Cross, if you would like to contribute to these proceedings, you would need to be placed under oath. Any objection?
No, ma'am.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
All right. The defendant has a different last name from you. Are you his biological parent?
I am.
All right. And has he been living with you?
Oh, no, not as an adult. No.
So this incident occurred at the home or somewhere else?
Oh, no, we were at my facility in Alpharetta, a training facility where we also box as one of our classes and offerings. So that's where it took place.
I see. And what else would you like to tell me? Are you comfortable with him being back at the facility or close to you or in your home?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hindsight, we have the advantage of hindsight. And, once he and I spoke after the incident, we clarified some things, and we have been closer than ever since that occurred. We've never had any previous altercation in our past, and he was dealing with and is dealing with some stress of his own that I think contributed to what took place with him and I. But like I said, post conversations, we've worked things out, and we spent, quite a bit of time together as we always do. So no, we don't have any issues that I'm concerned about at all at this point.
All right. Well,
No.
I'm glad he's getting on with you like a house on fire, except that he doesn't seem to have the same relationship with the courts. He's got a bench warrant out of the underlying case before Judge Richardson. He's not appeared in court on 2 prior occasions without any reason or so forth. Ms. Kim, yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 32 years old, and Your Honor, he has been working at construction industry, and he will not be qualified for public defender services. So today, my representation is only for the bond purpose, and after that, he will be represented by a private attorney. He went to college quite a bit for visual illustration, but he could not get bachelor's degree, and yet he's almost there. Your Honor, his case, even though there is an open case pending, last arrest was more than 5 years ago. He also want to have a contact with his father. It happened May 21st, which is almost 5 months ago. So we would like to request for no further violent contact, preferably signature on bond. And yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond because open case pending, we ask for $1,000 maximum bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Bond is set at $2,000. It is a surety bond. No further violent contact with David Cross with a K. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. He does have the other case, 18 CR 010635F, due to 2 failures to appear Judge Richardson had issued a bench warrant on October, I think it was 28th or the 18th.
I'm sorry, Judge, can you give the case number one more time? I wasn't with 18
No.
CR.
18 CR 010635F.
And it's just one, correct? One case?
That's that one case, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So both cases, both of these cases, the current one and the older one, are going to be reset for SAP on October 19th, 2023. Mr. Penix, if you make bond, you would have to make bond not only on this particular case, but also on the other case in which you have a bench warrant. But if you do not make bond, then we will see you in court on October 19th. Or what we call the SAP calendar, which is also going to be held via Zoom. Mr. Cross, if you want a Zoom link, you would need to contact the clerk's office or the victim advocate division for the Zoom link for the next court proceeding. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
You hear me? I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Please give me a call. You have a right to remain silent. The judge has a ruling, so I'll be happy to explain anything you have.
Case, it's not about, I just want to know what open case are you referring to? Because I didn't receive any notification or any, when I was arrested, I wasn't notified of any bench warrant or anything. So
18 CR 010635F, in which you were accused of cruelty to animals from a August 3rd, 2018 incident. And the history of the case shows that you were arrested, you were granted a bond. And then after that, based on your improper address provided at the jail, your notices were sent. You had a subsequent, your case went into bond forfeiture in December 10th, 2019. And then afterwards, there was an order to set aside the judgment on December 11th, 2019. So you've had ongoing interaction with the case since then. After that, you failed to appear in court on 2 prior occasions, and the Judge Richardson issued another arrest warrant on October 28th, 2021. In that particular case, the address we had at that time was Peachtree Hills Avenue and subsequently changed to Colonial Homes Drive. So I'm not sure why you would say you would not have notice of it, since the prior bench warrant had been set aside.
that I've had run-ins with the police since then, and they never mentioned a warrant.
Nobody needs to mention it, sir. You were arrested and you are already on notice that there's an active criminal case.
I wasn't.
You weren't what?
I was not aware that the case was still active.
There's been no disposition, there's been no dismissal, there's been no acquittal, there's been no trial. I fail to see why you think the case was closed. See you on the 19th. Thank you.
Position 9, Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Cross, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Keith Kelly, case number 23 CR 5940H. Mr. Kelly was cited. Is he ready? Okay. All right. He was cited for driving in an improper erratic lane changes, reckless driving, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. And the incident date appears to be October 4th, 2023. Mr. Kelly, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Abdon. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in 1998.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nemini?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened between Glen Ridge Road and I-285 westbound. Defendant was driving south of that road. He sped off, cutting other vehicles, swerving in and out of traffic. He sped past the officer. at the location, and that's when the officer turned his vehicle around and attempted to stop him using his sirens and emergency lights. A defendant pulled into the intersection of High Point and Glenbridge, and then he attempted to drive around the officer, although his lights and his sirens were on. He then attempted to drive around the curb to elude the officer again, and which the officer was able to block his path with his patrol vehicle.
Your Honor,
Once out of the vehicle.
one quick second.
Mr. Kelly, you have the right to remain silent. I would advise you to do.
It's the officer. Can you give me one quick second to handle something in courtroom too? Give me one.
Okay, yes. All right, they've got a code too. It wasn't the defendant. It was the officer. So we'll
Thank you,
take
Your
a
Honor.
brief recess while they address that.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry. This is Attorney Catherine Edmonds. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Benjamin Traynor, who I think you may have called earlier. I just wanted to let the court know that I was present.
Understood. Thank you. Officer, all good?
We're good, Judge.
Okay. We were proceeding with Ms. Nemine. You were in the middle of the narrative about the incident.
Yes. So once the officers were able to block his path and prevent him from trying to elude the officer again, that's when the officer got out of his vehicle, told him to place his hands on the hood of the car, and told him that he was under arrest for reckless driving, failure to maintain his lanes, and how fast he was driving. And that's when he started to pull away and resist arrest. And it took 2 officers to control him. And that's when he was holding himself back, and they tried to gain control of him. And then he was too strong, and the officers lost control, and they tried to deploy his taser, but it did not work. But the arrival of other units was helped the officer be able to detain him and put him in the back of the car. The defendant did hit his head on the bumper as they were trying to detain him. Considering the facts as alleged, Your Honor, the state is asking for 4,000 surety bond, count 1, 1,000, count 2, 2,000, count 3, 1,000, no alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons.
Ms. Abda?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 48 years old. He was born in Atlanta, has lived here his whole life. He graduated from high school and then went on to trade school where he studied. He got a certificate in automotive technology. He was previously working as a mechanic. He's currently out of work. His indigency is a concern, Your Honor, and I'm requesting that you take that into consideration when setting bond today. He does have a valid Georgia address, understands his obligation to return to court, so he is not a flight risk. He is recommended by pretrial, Your Honor. His last arrest was in 1998, and so I'm asking for a signature bond. And if Your Honor is not inclined, a low bond of $500, as that is all he can afford at this time.
No. On the erratic lane change is 500, and the remaining counts are 1,000 each. His total bond is 2,500. It is a surety bond. No further violent contact with law enforcement, and his next court date is October 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 19, Yarborough.
Francois, we have Mr. Trainor's attorney also present, so whenever you want to call him. But we can address Mr. Yarborough first. That's not a problem.
Okay. Position 19, Yarborough.
Thank you. This is Adam Yarborough, accused of operating a vehicle without the proper lights and fleeing and attempting to elude a police officer from August 22nd, 2022. Accusation number is 23 CR 5951E. Let me go through all the charges. There were 5 of them. Operating a vehicle without proper lights, fleeing and attempting to elude a police officer. The 3 others are 2 additional counts of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and driving while license suspended or revoked. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
7 total. Last arrest was in August, probation out of Douglas County. On probation in Cobb County, 2 counts of arson, fleeing an officer. Just got put on probation for that back in April of this year. Possession of meth with intent, and a 2022 suspended license arrest.
2022?
Suspended license arrest.
Do you have the date for that arrest? Because this one's also from 2022.
I have to pull it up. I only put the year on here. Hold on.
The incident date for this case is August 22nd, 2022. All right. While we're waiting, Ms. Sowry, what's the state's position on bond?
Yes, Judge. We are recommending a $4,500 surety bond. That's $2,000 on the fleeing, $1,000 on operating without lights, and $500 on the other charges, as well as no driving without a valid license, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. This incident did take place on North Avenue in Atlanta. While patrolling the area around 11:55 p.m., 2 officers observed a vehicle driven by the defendant operating without headlights. They did actually pull the defendant over. They asked him to roll down his windows due to his tents being extremely dark. And when the officer did approach the vehicle and asked the defendant for his license, he looked around as if he was searching for it, and said he couldn't find it. The officer smelled marijuana and asked the defendant to step out of the vehicle. At that point, the defendant sped off in the vehicle. His tag was ran, and it revealed he did have that warrant out of Cobb for fleeing, a suspended license for an FTA, and a warrant out of Douglas County for that probation for arson. So we would argue that he does present a risk of reoffending as well as a risk of flight, seeing as though he was convicted in 2022 for fleeing in Cobb County. Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you.
July 24th, 2022.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 31 years old, and Your Honor, he was a machine operator before he was arrested, and he has been incarcerated at Douglas County for the last 13 months, and he just got transferred from Douglas County to Fulton County to take care of this matter. And then he also has to go to another county as well. Your Honor, he has been incarcerated very long. He lost his car, he lost his apartment. He has right now nothing, literally, Your Honor. So anything will be a no bond for him. He has no income. So I would like to request for signature on bond for these driving offenses, Your Honor. And he claims that there was even though he was caught for no lights required by law, there was a light, so probably there was no probable cause to stop him, and yet, Your Honor, he served already 13 months. He graduated from high school, and that's about it. He was born and raised here. All his family members are here. I also texted his mother to support, so we would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
Thank you. On the operating without a proper license, that's a 500 signature bond through the jail. The fleeing or attempting to loot a police officer, that's going to be a 500 surety. The willful obstruction on 2 counts, that's going to be 250 each. That's a 500 surety total. And driving while license suspended or revoked, that's going to be $1,000 surety bond. Mr. Yarbrough demonstrates a very high likelihood to defy the rules of the road and licensing rules. Total bond is going to be 1,500. 2,500. That's going to be a split bond, so it's 2,000 surety and a 500 signature bond through the jail. Next court date is October 19th. Condition of the bond, no driving unless you have a valid driver's license, proper registration, and adequate automobile insurance. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Went to the private attorney case, position 17, trainer.
I'm already take a seat.
All right, Mr. Trainer has been advised of his right to remain silent and his right to counsel. His counsel is Ms. Catherine Edmonds. His accusation number is 23 CR 5948G, accused of stalking and engaging in harassing communication from a March 1st, 2023 incident for the harassing communication. And is that a typo? Is it March 1st, 2023 for the stalking as well?
Judge, it's a continuation, so it's from 2021 to September 28th of 2023.
Okay. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No.
Okay. Ms. Howard?
Your Honor, our victim is on the call. Her name is Katrina Waldron. She is present. She does not want to address the court, so I'll do the speaking for her. This did take place at Georgia Tech, located at 750 First Drive. The victim in this case, she and the defendant were students, and she went to the police to file a report against the defendant. She stated that she met the defendant in 2021. They spoke for about 10 minutes and she gave him her number. They've never dated. She has never given him any impression that she wanted to date him. However, he did continue to ask her out. He texted her multiple times. She asked him to stop, yet he continued to do so. Judge, I want to point out to you, just in September of 2023, this year, September 23rd, between that date and September 28th, the defendant texted the victim 190 text messages over a 5-day span. He left 3 Teams phone calls and a voicemail. He also mentioned to her on a prior occasion that he was going to find her in order to get answers to his questions since she was not responding to his text messages. The defendant would also wait for the victim at the recreational center and walk with her without her consent. So, Your Honor, this is a very serious matter. The defendant does present a risk of intimidating this victim. He is in close proximity of her. He will not take no for an answer. Our office, as I said, we did speak with her. She is in fear of him. She would like no contact. I know a stay away might not be, it may not be amenable due to him being a student. So we would ask for him to stay away from the victim, have no contact with her. We're asking for a $10,000 surety bond and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Ms. Edmonds?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Trainer is 23 years old. He has no criminal history whatsoever. He's a student at Georgia Tech, set to graduate in May with a major in electrical engineering and a minor in computer science. He has an exceptional GPA, and he's also a teacher's assistant there at Georgia Tech. He's very involved with student life on campus. He does live here in Atlanta, although he is originally from Rhode Island. And in fact, his mother is present on the Zoom call, and I believe she actually flew down from Rhode Island this morning. So she's going to make sure that he's taking this very seriously. He's not going to miss any court dates. And his father is also watching on the, I believe this is being live streamed on Zoom, and he's watching on Zoom as well. So he has a good support system from his parents. No criminal history, as I said. We don't have any objection to a no contact provision as a condition of his bond, and because we don't believe that he's a flight risk or a risk to reoffend. So we think he's a good candidate for an unsecured judicial release.
On the harassing communications, that's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. On the stalking, it's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. Mr. Trainer is not to have any further contact with Katrina Waldron. He's to stay 50 yards away from her. He's to not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, whether it's in person, through a third party, through email, through any form of electronic, digital, computer, cell phone, whatever way that you, person A, can reach to person B, either or through a third party, or through I don't know, through other kind of devices, and even on social media. You cannot discuss her on any kind of social media platform at all. It's like she never existed at all. And if Ms. Waldron gets even a whiff that you are trying to reach her or communicate with her, all she has to do is contact the prosecutor's office. And if a violation is found of this no further contact provision, you can be charged with a felony offense of aggravated stalking. Aggravated stalking typically means that you stay in jail for up to 3 months with no bond. So this would be the start of a downward spiral of what I consider a very, very fruitful future for you. So if you violate any of the conditions of this bond, you are just taking a completely opposite direction from what would be an amazing future for you. Do you understand me, Mr. Trainer?
I understand you, Your
All
Honor.
right. If you engage in any form of communication, or if you are at least within 50 yards of Ms. Waldron, this is the start of a downward spiral. You have to make arrangements with your school. I'm not going to keep you away from Georgia Tech, but you're going to have to make arrangements with your school, with your class schedule, with your teaching schedule, or whatever, or even the sports event schedule, if you're interested in that, to make sure that you stay 50 yards away from Ms. Waldron. If she's at the gym, you cannot be there. If she's in the cafeteria, you cannot be there. I cannot make this any simpler. It's just that easy. And the easier part for me would be to sign a warrant for aggravated stalking if I even get sufficient cause to find that you violated the no contact provision. Your total bond is $10,000. It's a split bond. Those are the conditions of the bond. You're not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you're not to own or possess any weapons and any firearms. You'll report to pretrial services where you will be subject to random screens for illegal drugs or alcohol. Your next court date is going to be October 19th via Zoom. If you do make bond, make sure that you maintain a current address, phone number, and contact information with the court, and we will then send you notice for your next court date. Because once you make bond, then the October 19th date will not apply. Ms. Edmonds, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a great day.
You too.
Judge Law, quick question for the bond amount for the stalking. What was that?
It's a 5,000 surety.
And then the second one was 5,000 SOB to
Pretrial.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Position 15 Shores. You're done.
Let's go back there.
Yeah. Have a
This is Mr. Charles Shores, accused of simple battery, 2 counts of simple battery domestic violence from October 4th, 2023. Mr. Shores, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard, any priors?
No.
Ms. Sowry?
Judge, I do have priors. Yes.
Is it a multi other jurisdictions?
Yes, Judge.
Go ahead.
2 other states. I have Louisiana. There's a 2019 ag assault with a firearm conviction and a 2009 assault on a family member conviction, and that's out of Texas. There was a 2016 ag assault with a firearm and terrorizing another that was null prost out of Louisiana. Your Honor, this incident did take place at 613 Summit North Drive in Atlanta. The defendant and the victim in this case, who is on the Zoom call, his name is Brandon Rosanina, Rosonina. They are roommates, and they were in an argument regarding a bottle being left in the washing machine. The victim stated that the argument turned physical when the defendant lunged at him. The defendant grabbed the victim by his neck and dug his nails into the victim's neck. The victim was able to breathe and did not lose conscious. He stated that there have been arguments in the past, but this is the first time that the defendant has gotten physical with him. He did state he did not want contact with the defendant and to stay away from the home address. Being that the defendant does have that prior ag assault conviction and it's with a firearm, the state does believe that this defendant presents the risk of reoffending. He also presents a risk of intimidating the victim, and he's a violent offender, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $6,000 surety bond. That's $3,000 on each. No contact with the victim, 1-day anger awareness, stay away, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right, thank you. I noticed somebody called Andy Shore. Said, did that person want to contribute to the proceeding? All right. Mr. Rosen.
I am the father, yep.
Did you want to say something?
You
You
yeah,
need
I
to
have
be placed
questions.
under oath.
Okay,
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yes.
And Judge, I would actually object to the testimony. I don't see him stated as a victim or a witness, so I'm not sure if his statement would even be
I'm
relevant.
going to set bond, so that's relevant. Mr. Shores, do you have any comment about why I should release your son on a signature bond, or do you?
I'm not sure I agree with the priors in Louisiana. I'm not sure that's him.
Oh, okay. All right. Has your son ever lived in Louisiana?
No,
Has your son ever lived in, so he's never lived in Louisiana?
no, and he's never possessed a weapon. That's the part that I'm a little bit concerned about.
Okay, all right.
So you
Thank
may have
you.
the wrong person.
All right, that's a fair point.
We'll check into that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Brandon Rosanina, did you want to contribute to the proceeding, or you don't have to?
Yes, sure.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right, what would you like to tell me?
Matt and I met about a year ago and became roommates. It seemed like a good situation, a good saving opportunity, but it turned out to be true. Somewhere along the line, there was kind of a breakdown in communication, and we kind of reserved to our personal spaces. I've tried communicating with him and compromising about living situations, but he's had several outbursts. He's been in my personal space, and
Your Honor, objection for the prior other cases, other incidents.
And Your Honor, it's relevant. This is the victim in this case, so his testimony is relevant for bond.
Mr. Rosanita, if you could tell me about this latest incident and why you believe he should stay away from you.
called the police before. They kind of told me he was just trying to get under my skin, but this is the second time I've had to call, and it's become physical.
No, and why do you believe that he's a threat to you?
I no longer feel comfortable in my home with him.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client has no objection to stay away from that location, nor having any contact with Brandon Rosanina. My client does not want to have any contact with him. Your Honor, I would like to recommend for signature on bond. He has been gainfully employed. He drives for Lyft. He has actually bachelor's degree. He's responsible financially, and also, Your Honor, he's been going through a lot of difficult times. He recently lost his mother and also his dog at the same time. It's causing lots of stress, and their both name is on the lease, and he's the only one who put all the security deposit. So 100% of the security deposit is coming from my client. So if anything gets broken, it is my client who's going to lose the money first. We would like to request that no further contact to be actually appropriate for this case. We just need one time law enforcement officer visit to retrieve his personal belongings, and also another time for his movers to go there and take out all the stuff. Other than that, yeah, that's it, Your Honor. The maximum we ask for is $1,000 good bond, but I think that LA and Louisiana and Texas are not my clients, because my client didn't tell me anything about those previous history. When I asked if there was any similar violent history, he said no. So we would like to request for signature on bond. Thanks.
Ms. Sari, have you had a chance to verify that GCIC? Because I'm just looking at his birth date, and I don't know what you'll pull it up under, because Mr. Howard didn't have any priors on him.
We'll defer to the court. I am still looking into it, but that was given based on his information. So we will take another look at that.
Okay. Bond is set at $1,000 on each count. That's a $2,000 surety bond. No further contact with Brandon Rosanina, to stay away from the 613 Summit Drive location. He may return to that location one time only with a police officer. There must be a police escort, and with the necessary moving resources like moving people or a U-Haul or whatnot. He is got a 2-hour window in order to remove his personal property from that location. He may return to that location upon further order of the court. Within 30 days of being released from the jail, he has to update the court with his new mailing address. And his next court date is going to be October 19th. Thank you. Oh, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 4, Caradine.
This is State versus Maurice Caradine from a June 19th, 2023 incident. Simple battery, domestic violence is the charge. Accusation number is 23 CR 5941C. Mr. Caradine, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Abdon. Mr. Howard, any priors?
Yeah, 5 total. Last arrest was in March, sale of marijuana, possession of a firearm during the commission. That's open. 23 CP 217215. 2022 simple battery DV dismissed. 2019 ag assault dismissed. That's it.
All right. Ms. Sari?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at 3504 Fairlane Court in Atlanta. The victim in this case, her name is Teresia, that's Teresia. Last name is Harris. She reported to officers that the defendant was packing up his belongings at the incident location when she asked him if he was going to pay for her cell phone bill her cell phone that he broke. The defendant got upset with her and threw her down by her neck. As we've heard from pretrial, the defendant does have a history. He does have a 2019 ag assault case that was non-prossed. However, the state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, a stay away, 1-day anger awareness, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And Your Honor, the victim is on the Zoom call.
I noticed. Thank you. That's Tanisha. Is that her? Tanisha Race? So
it's Tanisha.
Okay, Tanisha. All right.
It's
Yeah. You need to have your video on for me to address you.
Okay.
Okay. And did you want to say anything?
I did. I wanted to say a lot of stuff. First of all, I didn't even know.
You need to raise your right hand so I can place you under oath. Other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony?
Yes.
Are you done fooling around?
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
What would you like to tell me?
Well, actually, I don't even want to say that no more. It's okay.
All right, thank you. You may, let's mute this, the Zoom panel, Mr. Thank you. All right, Ms. Abda?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 30 years old. He was born in Atlanta, has lived in Georgia his whole life. He graduated from high school, attended some college at Georgia State, where he studied business administration. He is gainfully employed. He works as a delivery driver for Uber Eats and DoorDash. He's been doing that for the past year. Due to the flexibility in his schedule, he's responsible for taking care of the 1-year-old child he shares with the complaining witness while she is at work. He also has 4 other minor children, and he is responsible for drop off and pick up from school for those children as well. And so I'm requesting, Your Honor, that you take that into consideration today, both his financial and co-parenting responsibilities to his children. And I do understand the court's concern regarding the open case. However, he does maintain his innocence until proven guilty, and they are still open. And so he's not been convicted just yet. He does have stable housing. He is gainfully employed, and he does understand his obligation to return to court. He's not a flight risk at this time or a danger to the complaining witness or the public. It is my understanding that the parties do not reside together. They're living separately and co-parenting. And so I am requesting no further violent contact, Your Honor, and that the court allow him to continue co-parenting and caring for his other children. It's my understanding that she's not afraid of him. They've been getting along since the incident date, which I believe was, I think it's June 19th of this year. The incident location, Your Honor, is his mother's house. It's my understanding that the complaining witness does not live there. She lives with her dad with the minor child, and my client does live there currently. So I'm requesting that no stay away be placed for that address. In addition, I'm also requesting a signature bond, Your Honor. And if you're not inclined to grant him a signature bond, a $500 bond, as that is all he can afford at this time.
Your Honor, I do apologize. I did not mention in my notes, I had that this defendant also during this interaction, he threatened to shoot up the house that they were in. So that is a very concerning situation for the state. So I will be actually asking for a $10,000 surety bond on this case, as he does present a risk of danger to the victim.
Was that statement corroborated by a third party?
It was not. That's why we don't have it as a terroristic threat. However, it is an important fact.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor,
Go
ahead.
It's not a fact.
Go
It's an
ahead.
allegation.
Thank you.
Okay, so bond is set at $2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Miss Tunisia. I don't remember her last name. And to stay away from the location where the victim lives. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Next court date is October 19th. Thank you.
Your Honor, can we also get a third party for the minor child?
Right now, I've got a prior conviction for battery family violence from 2017. He's got an open felony case involving a firearm. I think, and how old's the minor child?
One.
I'll need him to file a legitimation action to get visitation and custody with the child he shares with Miss Tunisia.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next case, please.
Position 12, Meyer.
The state versus Brandon with a YN, Meyer, 23 CR 5946J. Mr. Meyer, this is from a September 21st, 2023 incident in which you've been charged with driving and striking an unattended vehicle. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
No. Jail was the recommendation.
All right. Ms. Sowry, any objection to a signature bond through the jail?
We're asking that it go through pretrial, where he's monitored. I do have a history here, but I'll just go through it. It's a simple battery, family violence that was NOD, to possession of firearm, driving while license suspended, in possession of marijuana. There's no disposition for that one. In this case, the defendant hit a parked vehicle. He did not leave a note or anything to give his insurance information to the victim. She called the police to make a report, and the officer was provided with a video of the incident from security that showed the defendant backing into the vehicle. We are still waiting on the full report. So right now we just have her name is Miss Thomas, and the incident location was 5901 Peachtree Dunwoody Road in Sandy Springs.
It's $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Since they already know where he is, I'm sure the victim insurance company.
Excuse me.
Yes, Miss Antoinette.
Hi, I'm Brandon Meyer's mother, and I don't under the one with firearm. I'm not understanding.
That is something you and your son can.
It was never. And this is from when?
Miss Antoinette, please contact his attorney, Miss Kim. He's been given a signature bond through the jail. And if there are any issues with his criminal history record, y'all can go through the appropriate agency to correct it. Thank you. Next case, please.
Question, Judge, for the second charge on his 3-card willful obstruction, was that Malcross?
Yes, it was. I'll send the document.
You said it was?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That was another bond.
Position 2, Bentley. You don't pay money.
This is State versus James and Antoine Bentley, accused of battery from December 28, 2022, case number 23 CR 5935G. Mr. Bentley, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abdon. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
6 total, 2020 inflict corporal injury on spouse.
Repeat that.
Inflict corporal injury. I think that's one of those California charges.
Okay, California.
That's normally where I've seen that charge. I have to go back and look. 2019 battery dismissed. That's all I got.
Thank you. Ms. Namini?
Yes, Your Honor. So I do have out of Texas, I have a 2022 aggravated assault criminal mischief, and that's a conviction. Out of Arizona, it was dismissed, but a DV charge. The California, that's normally a DV kind of like charge. And then Indiana, we have disorderly conduct, resisting law enforcement officers, and battery.
So you have a multi-state conviction record, and pretrial only has one from California?
Yeah, mine's not coming up. Hold on. I don't think all of them came through on that GCRC.
I'm really concerned about the huge disparity between the
Well, no, the first 2 defendants we had, mine was correct. Now, they may be right on this one. Give me one moment.
Meanwhile, who are we on?
we on Bentley, position 2.
Thank you.
That's a great concern if it's a battery.
The state is right on this.
Okay, all right. Anything else? And then what's the bond recommendation, Ms. Nimini?
So I'm currently recommending a 5,000 surety bond, stay away from the 24500 Old National Road at Red Roof Inn. No further contact with Mr. Clifford Jennings, who is the victim. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons. So at this location, this incident happened December 28th of last year. Officers were advised by the victim, Mr. Clifford Jennings, that the defendant assaulted him. He was approached by the defendant and two other gentlemen to stay in his room at the Red Roof Inn. He agreed, but asked him to pay him $50 for the night. They all agreed. They returned back to the room, and that's when the defendant told his friend Sean, "Let's get that bitch's purse." And then that's when they said that they were going to do that. After that, they sprayed him with air freshener and took money out of his purse. He wiped his eyes and asked for money. Then he asked them for his money several times, but they refused to give it to him. And that's when the incident became physical. They hit him in the face with an iron. The defendant did admit hitting them back to defend himself. The defendant did state that from the iron, he had a gash on his face. He was bitten on his right arm by the defendant. Officers were able to gather pictures of the injuries, which showed a series of minor cuts over both of his eyes and a bite on the defendant, the victim's wrist. Considering that, the officers also, there's also video footage, CCTV, with the defendant with the iron in his hand, standing in the doorframe of the room that the incident did occur. Considering that and considering some of his criminal history, the risk of reoffense is very high. So the state is going to stand on the 5,000 surety bond, Your Honor. And I would like to sound for Mr. Clifford Jennings if he's on the call today.
Mr. Jennings? All right, Ms. Abden, do you have an alternative view on what looks like a big tussle?
Well, we're not going to get in too much into the facts today, Your Honor, but it is my understanding that my client does not know who Mr. Jennings is. This incident did occur in 2022. It's also my understanding that that Red Roof Inn is no longer open. And so my client would not object to a no further contact, a stay away from that location, if it's still relevant. He is 32 years old. He moved to Georgia from Chicago not too long ago. He's receiving SSI, so he is on fixed income. His indigency is a concern. He is qualified for public defender services. I do have a good mailing address for him, Your Honor, and he does understand his obligation to return to court. So he's not a flight risk at this time. He is residentially insecure and out of work at this moment. I did connect him with one of our social workers to assist him with housing. And as I've stated, his indigency is a concern. He can't afford any bond at this time, Your Honor. And he doesn't have anybody in Georgia to assist him with any bond that would be set. And so he will just remain in jail if any bond is set, Your Honor. And so I am asking for a signature bond.
Well, he's already got that open felony case from the incident from yesterday, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So bond in this case is 2,000. It's a surety bond. No further contact with Clifford Jennings, and no illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. And the next court date's October 19. Mr. Bentley, you have a right to remain silent. And if you want to waive your right to remain silent, please be mindful that your words can be used against you.
Mr. Bentley, I'm going to advise you to exercise your right to remain silent. If you have any questions, I can speak with you after court today.
Confirm there was no stay away, correct?
Well, I don't think the hotel exists anymore.
It's a hotel over there. It's just not a Red Roof Inn anymore.
All right, yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's fine. Just no contact with Mr. Jennings. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
Position 16, Torres.
Is that your client, Miss Abden or Miss Kim?
Not my client, Your Honor.
I'm here, Your Honor.
All right, is no language issues, right?
Nope, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. This is case 23 CR 5950C. Mr. Tomas Lopez Torres is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from October 4th, 2023. Mr. Torres, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kim. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
His fifth arrest, last was 07, false report of a crime. He had a 05 simple battery trespass first offender. He was recommended.
Ms. Sari?
Yes, Judge. This incident took place at 7 Old Holcomb Bridge Way in Roswell. The victim in this case, her name is Garisha, that's Garisha, same last name as the defendant. She indicated to officers that the defendant had been calling her while she was at work. And when she told him he could not speak because she's at work, he got upset with her. He then called her job, cursed out her supervisors, telling them F you repeatedly. And when the victim got home, she found her clothing destroyed all over the floor with products poured on them. The defendant did admit to officers that he destroyed the victim's property because he was mad at her for not giving him his citizenship documents. The state's recommendation in this case is a $1,000 surety bond, no contact with the victim, a stay away, 1-day anger awareness, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right. And Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 53 years old and he and his wife have 3 adult children, Your Honor. My client has been working as a paint contractor for the last 25 years here in Georgia, Your Honor. He has a long-term history here. He's now a U.S. citizen. He is also working hard. He's not going to be qualified for he's not going to be qualified for public defender services, and yet we would like to request for a signature on bond as he is recommended, Your Honor. He also has a very serious physical condition where he needs to take a lot of medical attentions. So we want him to be out as soon as he can. Thanks.
All right, thank you. His bond is going to be set at $4,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. He's to have no further contact with Garisha Torres and stay away from 7 Old Holcomb Bridge Way in Roswell, Georgia. He may return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings, but after that, he has to stay 200 yards away from the location and from Ms. Torres. As the children are all
grown up.
Yep, that visitation is not an issue. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and he must attend and complete a 1-day anger awareness program with Fulton County pretrial.
Thank you.
Within 30 days of being released, he has to give us a new address, and that's where his notices will be sent. Thank you.
Position 1, Ball.
This is State versus Ryan Thomas Ball, accused of willful obstruction of an officer and public drunk from October 4th, 2023. The accusation number is 23 CR 5934H. Mr. Ball, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abden. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
I got a third arrest. Resident of Ohio. Last arrest was 2020. Felonious assault. Victim seriously harmed. That's part of the charges. That was a conviction. That's it.
Ms. Lemini?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state and the PD's office were able to come to a diversion program. So we are going to ask for a signature bond, a $2,500 signature bond, a stay away from 244 Far Road, also known as the Elbow Room. He has to take the Civics Academy Responsibility Awareness course and an alcohol drug evaluation treatment. Basically, defendant was filmed an officer while on extra duty while he was in the bathroom, left without paying his tab allegedly. And he was a little drunk and a little irate, and the officer took him into custody.
Ms. Abden, any objection to the 2,500 signature bond through the jail?
No objection, Your Honor.
Right. On the willful obstruction is 1,500. On the public drunk is 1,000. Total bond is 2,500 signature bond through the jail. On the condition that he enters the diversion program to complete the courses outlined by Ms. Nemini, and he'll need to maintain a current address with the court. Upon completion of the diversion program, then it's up to the state to decide whether whether they want to null pros the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 5, Cruz.
Do you have Butler, position 3?
Yeah, we have them.
Okay, just wondered. This is State versus Cedric Clark, 23 CR 5937F. Are you Mr. Clark?
No, ma'am, that's not.
Did you say position 5?
That's not.
Let me double check. I'm sorry, Judge.
That's all
Mr.
right.
Cruz is gonna be
Cruz is
position,
6.
he's position 6. I
Six.
apologize, Judge.
No, that's okay. It's a lot of cases on the calendar. Okay, just,
This is position 6.
okay. Are you Mr. Rubel Cruz?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, case number 23 CR 5938G. Mr. Cruz is accused of loitering and prowling from October 4th, 2023. Mr. Cruz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Abden. Any priors, please?
6 total. Resident of Pennsylvania. I got a January arrest for battery and robbery. That was dismissed. Arrest this year for shoplifting obstruction. 2019 DUI conviction. And you got history out of Pennsylvania and Alaska.
In Alaska?
Alaska.
Yes.
Any prior burglary or robbery other than the Ohio one?
I don't recall seeing any.
But the January arrest was for robbery, wasn't it?
Correct. Robbery and battery. That was here in Fulton. It was dismissed according to Odyssey.
Okay.
All right.
Miss Nemini?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday at 543 Broadview Place Northeast. The defendant is seen on footage and by other residents of that private neighborhood, walking her through the neighborhood and pulling on door handles, attempting to see if they were unlocked. And the defendant did admit to not living in the neighborhood. And he was also seen looking into the houses to see if individuals were home. Based on the facts, Your Honor, the state is asking for a 3,000 signature bond, stay away from that specific location, no alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Abden?
No, Your Honor, no objection, so long as that signature bond is through the jail. And he does have an address here in Georgia, and so he will be returning to court. He is not a flight risk at this time. And that is all I have to add.
I'll do it through pretrial. It's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. He'll have to report to pretrial once a month. Failure to do so can result in his bond being revoked. To stay away from the Broadview address, 200 yards away from that whole neighborhood, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons and firearms. We'll need a good mailing address on Mr. Cruz. So within 30 days of being released, he needs to come by the clerk's office and confirm his mailing address, his phone number, and email. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 5, Clark.
Oh, that was per judge too.
Yes. This is Cedric Clark, case 23 CR 5937F. Mr. Clark has got an incident arising from October 4th, 2023, from which there are 5 charges being brought against him. Criminal trespass causing damage to property, theft by shoplifting, criminal trespass, possession and use of a drug-related object. And I've got 5 offenses, but the 5th one got cut off. So.
It's battery.
Battery? And why isn't it on my calendar? Okay.
It's right. It's together. I had to separate it on mine as well.
Oh, right there at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Yeah, and the 5th charge is battery. So, Mr. Clark, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Abden. Any priors, Mr. Howard?
25. Last arrest was August, failure to appear. Appeared to have an open case in Chattanooga for disorderly conduct. Got an open case in Fulton, forgery in the first, shoplifting, 22 CP 214838. On probation for burglary. In 2009, they gave him 6 years to serve, 9 years probation. So that's the time out next year. Got a 2022 battery DV arrest, couple of probations from 2021, 2021 battery, 2020 trespass conviction, and probation violations from 2019, 2020.
Thank you. Miss Namini?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state is asking for a 6,000 surety bond for count 1, 500, count 2, 1,000, count 3 and 4, 500, count 5, 3,500, a stay away from the BP gas station located at 3255 MLK Drive Southwest. No further contact with Mr. Clayton Stroud, the victim. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, and 1 day of anger awareness. At this location, defendant used his fist to hit Mr. Clayton Stroud in the face and on his head, causing him to bleed from the face and fingers. And his fingers, the victim's fingers were cut from broken glass from inside the store. So when officers arrived, they were advised by the store clerk that defendant normally comes into the store and takes items without paying. And that very day, he attempted to steal more items that day. And Mr. Stroud is normally there cleaning, and he attempted to stop the defendant. And that's when the defendant started picking up objects and throwing them. This includes bottles, chips, wines, and other items. And the victim started throwing things back at him. The parties went outside, and that's when the defendant assaulted Mr. Stroud. Broken bottles and products were also observed. Defendant was not on the scene when officers did come, but once they saw him nearby at the food mart located 2 blocks away with a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper and a bottle of wine that he took from the BP gas station that he was previously at, they advised him to put the items down, and he refused, and he began to make a fist at the officers as if he attempted to hit the officer. Therefore, he was placed in custody, and they found a crack pipe on his persons. I do want to note that defendant had been criminal trespassed from that location August of 2023 from the same responding officer that handled this case today, and that's why the state is asking for the bond as alleged, Your Honor.
All right. Did y'all? Okay, no. I was just wondering whether you had the drug-related object that's count number 4. Okay. Miss Abdon?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client is 35 years old. He was born in Georgia, has lived here his whole life, so he does have strong ties to the community. He got his GED and also has a degree in culinary arts. He did just get hired at a warehouse, Your Honor, as a food distributor. This was a new job he just got 2 days ago. And so he was supposed to be at work today, Your Honor. I understand the allegations today involve theft and trespass. And so I am asking Your Honor to take that into consideration. He is trying to get his life. He's trying to make changes in his life, and he did get this job. And so the longer he does remain in jail, Your Honor, the more likely it is that he will lose this job and the opportunity to better himself. And he does deny the allegations as stated. And he did inform me that he was acting in self-defense and he was badly injured due to the incident. And so, Your Honor, as he does not have any income at this time, setting a bond for him would mean no bond at all. He would stay in jail and lose his job. And so I am requesting a signature bond, Your Honor, and he would agree to a stay away and no further contact with the complaining witness.
Your Honor, I just want to put it on record. He does have a history of failing to appear. I have 12 failure to appears and 14 probation violations. And I want you to take that into consideration.
I believe Mr. Howard did touch on that. Thank you. And the damage to property is 500. On the theft by shoplifting is 500. The trespass is 500. Possession and use of drug-related objects 500. And the battery charge is 5,000. That's 5, 6, 7. His total bond is set at $7,000. It is a surety bond. He's to have no further contact with Mr. Clayton. He's to stay 500 yards away from, I guess, the BP gas station. And he knows exactly where that is. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you. Next court date is October 19th.
Position 3, Butler.
Okay. This is State versus Deshaun Butler, accused of battery from October 4th, 2023. Case number 23 CR 5936D. Mr. Butler, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abdon. The charge is battery. I believe that's the only charge. That's correct. Okay. And any priors, Mr. Howard?
7 total. Last arrest was 2022 DUI. He got open DUI in Cherokee County. Got open disorderly conduct obstruction in South Fulton. On probation and called for DUI. I don't recall seeing no violent history. That's it.
So DUI in Cherokee, DUI in Cobb, and what was it? A disorderly conduct in which county? South Fulton. South Fulton City. Okay. Ms. Nemini?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday at 1935 Allison Court Southwest. Officers responded to a fight in progress, and upon the approach to the location, officers could hear a male voice yelling and a loud thud, sound of an object hitting a hard surface. Officers knocked and met with the roommate, Ms. Imani Burke, who advised officers that her roommate, Ms. Tonish Bowman, Bowman, was getting beat up by her boyfriend, and pointed officers to the door of the bedroom. Officers knocked on the door, but no response, but he could hear the victim, Ms. Bowman, crying behind the door. The officers asked Ms. Burke, the roommate, where the boyfriend was, aka the defendant, and he was advised that the defendant was in the bedroom. Officers walked in, noticed the closet door ajar and opened it, and saw defendant hiding. He got the victim to come outside. She was wrapped in a blanket with visible bruising to her lips, swelling to her right, the right side of her head. Her right eye was bright red, conducive with indications of trauma from an impact. Defendant had scratches on his arms, back and face, and his knuckles were red in color with minor contusions. Both the roommate, Ms. Imani, and Ms. Bowman advised that defendant has struck Ms. Bowman. The state was able to speak to the victim. She states that her and defendant are in a relationship. They do not live together. They don't have any children together. The location that this incident happened is her residence. She claims that her and the defendant got into an argument, and that's when the defendant began hitting her multiple times. She did confirm her injuries. She states that this is not the first time the defendant has been violent with her, but this is the first time that the police have been called. She claims to not being in fear of the defendant and is okay with having contact with him, and she will be on Zoom. So I would like to sound for Miss Tonish Bowman, Tonish.
I think I saw her, but I don't know where. Oh, there she is with the big, the T on the Zoom panel. Did you want to contribute, Mr. Nemini?
I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Ms. Tonish, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
You're fine, Your Honor. So considering those facts, Your Honor, we are asking for a 4,000 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Tonish Bowman and the roommate, Ms. Imani Burke. 1 day of anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, and a stay away from Miss Bowman's home at the 1935 Allison Court Southwest.
Okay. Ms. Abdon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I present, if I can just get confirmation that he does have a hold out of—
He does, Cobb County.
Thank you, Your Honor. So my client's 27 years old, born in Georgia, has been living here his whole life. He graduated from Westlake High School in 2014 and attended Kennesaw State. He's working hard so he can afford tuition to re-enroll in college. He only has 2 semesters left and to complete his bachelor's degree. He is gainfully employed. He has 2 jobs where he works as a fulfillment specialist. It's my understanding that the complaining witness is not afraid of him. They are no longer in a relationship and they're not living together at the incident location, which, as you've heard, is her address. And so we would not object to a stay away and a no further contact. As they were in a relationship, Your Honor, my client does have some items at her home. And so we are requesting a one-time law enforcement escort for him to retrieve those items. My client denies the allegations. He stated that he was not the first aggressor, and it's my understanding that neither party called the police. He also denies the allegation that there were any previous instances of violence between them. I am requesting a signature bond, Your Honor, for him to go to Cobb County and handle the hold that he's got. He's not getting out of jail anyway today, Your Honor, and so I'm asking you to take that into consideration. He also does not have any prior violent offenses, Your Honor, and so I am asking you to take that into consideration as well.
Okay. Ms. Bowman, did you need to add to the proceedings? Okay. With regards to this case, the bonds can be set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Tonisha Bowman. Next court date is going to be October 19th. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 7, Farrell.
This is State versus Demba I think it's Abu Bakr Farid, accused of battery from 23 CR 5939C. Incident date appears to be October 1st, 2023. Mr. Farid, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abden. Mr. Howard, any priors?
I got a 2015 wrongful use of marijuana. That was out of the Army.
Okay, anything else?
I don't recall. No.
The charge against him is battery family violence. So, Ms. Nimini?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened October 1st of this year at 133 Chattahoochee Circle in Roswell. Both parties, the victim and the defendant, do reside together there. Officers responded to the location based on a welfare check called by the victim's grandmother, who said that she was in fear of her granddaughter's well-being. The grandmother had advised the officers that the defendant had threatened to kill his wife, but the wife was too afraid to call the police herself. Officers spoke with Miss Rain Holden Arnold and observed a scratch on her neck with dried blood that has started to scab. Defendant advised officers that he and his wife had gotten into an altercation the night before, and the scratch was from a couple of weeks ago, but he claims that the scratch happened as he was trying to swipe a bug off her neck. When officers spoke to the victim, she advised that defendant had assaulted her a couple of weeks ago by grabbing her by her neck to the point that he was able to scratch her. She did also let officers know that this is not the first time the defendant has hit her. He has hit her multiple times in the past. Considering those facts, Your Honor, and considering that the grandmother called scared for her granddaughter's welfare, the state is asking for a 4,000 signature bond through pretrial. We are asking for an FVIP course. Stay away from that location because there hasn't been an adequate cooling off period. And considering that the victim does state that defendant has hit her multiple times in the past. No further contact with Ms. Rain Holden Arnold. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have an objection to the signature bond. I do have an objection to the family violence intervention course at this time. These are allegations. Sounds like this happened yesterday, and so this is not his sentencing today. And so I ask Your Honor to delay any condition that is extremely restrictive until later on. My client is 33 years old. He's originally from New York. He's been living in Georgia for the past year consistently. He does have family here in Georgia. He has strong ties to the community. He graduated from high school and he went back to get his associate's degree recently in 2018. He did serve in the military as a utilities repairsman, and he was honorably discharged. He is currently receiving VA disability, Your Honor, so he is living on a fixed income and he's not employed due to his disability from serving in the military. He does deny the allegations, Your Honor. He did state that his girlfriend has, it is an MH issue, and he's denying the allegations. I will leave that off the record because this is being recorded. And so he did tell me this was a misunderstanding, and he would be okay with the no further contact if Your Honor is inclined, and a stay away. But he is asking that he be allowed to return home with no further violent contact in order to care for her and make sure that she does get help. If Your Honor is not inclined, then just a one-time law enforcement escort in order for him to get some of his belongings.
I don't think they share children. I couldn't recall.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm going to grant the $4,000 signature bond through pretrial. He's to have no further contact with Miss Rain Arnold. He's to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. He's to stay away from 1333 Chattahoochee Circle, Atlanta, Georgia. He's allowed a one-time visit to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit must be with a police officer, and it cannot exceed 60 minutes. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. He will report to pretrial every month and attend their one-day anger awareness program. If he engages or have any kind of contact with the victim, returns to the location without an officer, or gets arrested again, his signature bond will be revoked and converted to a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You know what I'm about to tell you, right?
Yes, sir, per judge.
Position 10, Mance.
This is State versus Quadrico Mance, M-A-N-C-E. Case number 23 CR 5942 from August 27 of 2022. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Abden. Any priors, Mr.?
I got 8 total. Last arrest was last month. Fleeing an officer out of Richmond County. Got an open obstruction, 2 counts, DUI, driving without a valid license. Of course, the fleeing. On probation in McDuffie County, possession of cocaine, possession of a firearm during the commission, and theft by receiving. He got put on probation for that last year.
Okay.
I got a probation violation from this year, 2019 trespass conviction. He got a hold out of Aiken, South Carolina, and Thompson, where that felony probation is. That's it.
Ms. Nemeni?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened August 27th of last year at 300 Peachtree Street Northeast. 911 call was placed by the victim, Ms. Christique Price, C-R-Y-S-T-I-Q-U-E. She advised officers that she was being assaulted by the father of her child, the defendant. Once officers arrived and spoke with her, she advised that she was in town visiting the father of her child, who she had identified as the defendant. She stated that he became angry with her after they had returned to the parking lot of the Airbnb, and he just started hitting her. So the state was able to speak to Ms. Price. She states that they are currently living in Georgia together at 1889 Green Road, Deering, Georgia, 30808. She confirmed everything in the warrant is true, but she said she did not seek medical attention and that her nose was fine. She did state that he forcibly hit her multiple times in her nose. She stated that they have been in contact with each other since this incident and there hasn't been any violence since. She says this is the first time that has happened and she's not in fear of the defendant. And she stated that she didn't want to speak on Zoom today, but considering the facts, Your Honor, the state is asking for a $4,000 surety bond, no further contact with Ms. Christique Price, 1 day of anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons, a third-party transport of the child, and considering it looks like he does have some violent history, and then he has a 2018 ag assault case. So, Your Honor, the state does ask you to consider that, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Abden?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's my understanding that the parties do not live together. My client lives with his mother, and I do have an address for him. And he has been living in Georgia his whole life. It's also my understanding that he has a 4-year-old with the complaining witness. who stays in South Carolina with I guess the child's grandfather. He is trying to enroll in Augusta Tech for welding at the moment, Your Honor, and he is suffering from a severe injury. He had 4 surgeries since February 2023. That is why he's staying with his mom, and he's not working at this time. He is still recovering and out of work, and he does have a job lined up when he gets better with his grandfather. And once he recovers, and he hopes to start school for welding once he recovers as well. And so it's my understanding that they are currently co-parenting, and that she is not afraid of him. This incident did allegedly occur last year, and they do not reside together. And so I'm asking Your Honor to consider giving him a signature bond. He does have a hold, and so he is not going to get out of jail today anyway. And we would be okay with, if Your Honor is inclined to order a no further contact, we would just ask for a third-party transfer for the 4-year-old child.
Okay. It's a $2,000 surety bond. No further contact with Christique Price. I only got an Evans, Georgia address. Is that where his mom lives? Or
Your Honor, that's where he lives.
That's where he lives.
Yes,
So
my understanding.
the Deering Road location does not apply.
I've never heard of that address.
I'm not entirely sure, Your Honor. I just know.
I have
the
no
state-
idea who that is. Who is that? Somebody wants to speak. All right.
Hello?
Miss Race, Miss Trace, I can't see you. You need to start your video.
I can't, it's just asking me to.
Now I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I don't know what's wrong with the video. Can you see me now?
Nope.
I don't know what's wrong with the video. Once I appear on the screen, I can see you. Then I go to mute, so I don't understand. But if I could say something,
go ahead.
Okay. As far as Christique and Quadrico, they are together. And as far as the aggravated assault charges that she mentioned before, those charges was dismissed. And I wish that you would, instead of a surety bond, that we can do a signature bond. And I can assure you that he will be back in court. With the no contact, I don't see how they are together. And she's going to come back up there to talk to the DA. She made several attempts to do that, to go talk to them, because she didn't want to press charges. I don't know what the discussion was, but as far as the charges against him and that amount of a bond, I can't possibly make that bond. It's hard for me to do it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Trace.
Okay, thank you.
And Your Honor, if I may just add, as you've heard, he cannot pay that bond. He will remain in jail until October 19th. He's still recovering from a serious injury, Your Honor, and I do ask you to take that into consideration and possibly grant him a pretrial bond, a signature bond, so he has more monitoring if you're inclined, due to the circumstances we've just heard.
And we're going to object, Your Honor, considering that PD Abden did speak to her client and he stated that they weren't together, and they are together, yet they are living together. And then there's a lot of inconsistency that whoever just spoke, Your Honor, and considering the fact he got out of the car and punched her in her nose. And, we spoke to her today.
Okay. Excuse me for interrupting again. Your Honor, they always say the only thing a person has is their bond. And this is what they're accused of. If court is October 19th and he has the previous hold on him.
Ms. Trace, I'm not used to talking to a blank screen. So I've already seen who you are, but you need to also understand that the information that your son is relaying to his attorney completely contradicts what you just said. You need to take that into consideration. You're telling me one version, he's telling us a different version. Okay? He's got a criminal history record. And I've set a bond for 2,000. I've not heard anything else that tells me I should go with a signature bond. I understand that he's got an injury, but he's also got to understand that he doesn't qualify for a signature bond. It is not an entitlement to get a signature bond, it's a privilege. And giving us different information, giving us an individual with a criminal track record, where the alleged victim of a domestic violence situation is not present to give us her input. This all are factors that I have to consider. The bond is $2,000. It is a surety bond. His next court date is October 19. He's to have no contact with Christique Price. Ms. Price can always reach out to the Solicitor General's office to ask that the bond be amended or that the contact provisions be amended. At the present time, we have been informed that he lives with his mother in Evans, Georgia. If he changes his address, he is obligated to come back to court and report that to the clerk's office. Or Ms. Abden, if you get differing information, you can always file a change of address on behalf of your client. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And if we can unmute courtroom 2, please. Yes, Mr. Mance?
I had informed her that I was currently staying with my mother for the moment, but we were just living together.
Mr. Mance, I'm gonna advise you to just exercise your right to remain silent. The solicitors are on the line. This is being recorded. I do not want you to incriminate yourself. We can talk about it later. She's made her ruling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next case, Deputy Francois. Next date is October 19th.
Judge Law, I have a quick announcement.
Yes.
I do have the Calvin Ray McClendon. He's not on our calendar, but he was on our pull sheet. I don't know if that was the error.
He was on the add-on calendar.
Okay.
Yeah. Is Mr. McClendon present?
Yes, he is. Can I have a second?
This is State versus Calvin Ray McClendon, charged with simple battery family violence from October 4th, 2023. Case number 23 CR 005952Y. Mr. McClendon, you have a right to remain silent, and anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Kim. Mr. Howard, do you have any priors on Mr. McClendon?
Fifth arrest, last arrest I got was 04. He was recommended.
All right. Ms. Domini?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened yesterday afternoon at 355 Peachtree Street. The state is asking for a 3,000 signature through pretrial, but we are asking for an FVIP course. No further contact with the victim, who is Miss Gladys McClendon. No alcohol, drugs, guns, or weapons. It's alleged that defendant pushed his ex-wife, who was in a wheelchair, out of her wheelchair and made her injure her left knee on the wall of the elevator. A security officer on scene heard the commotion going on and witnessed him pushing the Miss Gladys McClendon. I would like to sound for Miss Gladys McClendon if she's on the line, but based on the fact that this happened yesterday, the state does believe there hasn't been a cooling off period. That is the state's offer, Your Honor.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. We would like to recommend for a signature on bond, as he is also recommended. Only thing is though, they live in a same apartment. My client lives at 800, unit 800, and the complaining witness lives at unit 810. They're kind of like a neighbors. So I just want to make sure that he can go to his place, and no further contact is fine, but he prefers to have a no further violent contact. They have 4 children together and 13 grandchildren together. They lived a long time. Recently, they divorced, but they still have a cordial relationship, if I understand correctly. He's retired. That apartment is for like 1-bedroom apartment. for everybody. So anyway, that's all, Your
But
Honor.
he has his own 1 bedroom and she
Yes.
has her own, okay.
Yes.
I'll go with the state's recommendation of the 3,000, I think was the signature bond for pretrial, was that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, no further violent contact with Gladys McClendon. And if there's any future altercations, physical or verbal with Ms. McClendon, then Mr. McClendon will just be back in jail on a cash bond or no bond status. While he's out on bond, he's to take 12 anger management classes at his expense. Those classes must begin within 30 days of being released. And no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. When you report to pretrial every month, you need to give them a progress report on your anger management classes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honor.
And that was the pretrial, correct, Judge?
Correct.
You said he should start them when, Judge Law?
Within 30 days, he needs to take anger management classes. He needs to report to pretrial that he has started those classes.
What was
And
that contact?
no further violent contact. Right, next case, Deputy Francois.
That is it, Judge. We do have a quick announcement for position 8. They waived their appearance. And then we're completed here in courtroom 2, Judge.
All right, thank you, Francois. I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also I wanted to thank you for earlier for SAP for helping me out.
We tried, but we still got it. All right, no problem. Thank you. All right, moving on to position 8, Jennifer Good. Who's representing her, Ms. Abden?
I am, Your Honor. So she was accepted to PAD program. I have I think 2 people on the line from PAD. She consented, and so I am requesting a signature bond, Your Honor, and that she be released to PAD.
And to whom at PAD? I see a Miss Jackie Patterson. Would that be the contact person?
Typically, we just put PAD representative, but I guess I can defer to Miss Patterson to let me know who would be the best.
Patterson, maybe put your name there, or is that going to create a ruckus of problems?
It's going to create a ruckus and problem. So it can actually be any representative of PAD, because we have a community response team. And so we don't know the date of who it's going to be. So it can actually just say any representative of PAD.
Okay. Well, it'll be a signature bond, but she'll need to stay away from the location in place. And Miss Sowry, what is that location?
Good morning, Your Honor. Kalisha Body for the state.
Oh, yes, Miss Body. Yes, ma'am.
That location is the Underground Atlanta, located at 50 Upper Alabama Street in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And Derek Howard also submitted a consent order for your signature.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was about to say that, but he already submitted this order, Judge. And when I send it to you, if it's okay, if you just write to stay away on there, I don't.
Has already been sent to me? Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
going to send it to you with my orders, but if I send it and wait for it to send back, can you just write the
I will. I
Thank
will
you.
stay away from 50 Alabama Street, Atlanta, Georgia, which is affectionately referred to as the Underground. And so Miss Patterson, once she's in with PAD, that's the only concern, that she needs to stay away from that location. Otherwise, it will be back to square one.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you, Ms. Claudia. All right, just to, yes, Ms. Deputy Francois?
What was the bond amount?
It's going to be a, I think it was 500 signature bond through the jail.
It's 1,500.
1,500, excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Have a good one, Judge.
You too, you too. Okay, position 1, Ryan Ball is a 2,500 signature bond through the jail. Position 2, Bentley is a 2,000 surety, reset October 19. 3, Butler is a $1,000 surety, reset October 19. Position 4, Caradine is 2,500 surety, reset October 19. Position 5 is a 7,000 surety, reset October 19. Position 6, Cruz is a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial. 7, Fari is a 4,000 signature bond through pretrial. 8 is a $1,500 signature bond through the jail with a release to PAD. I'll do the consent order. Keith Kelly, position 9 is a 2,500 surety bond, reset October 19th. Position 10, Mance is a 2,000 surety, reset October 19th. Position 11, McNeil's the 2,500 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. 12, Meyer is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. 13, Perry is a 3,000 signature bond to pretrial. 14 is, my goodness, I can't read the name, Pinnix is a 2,000 surety bond, reset date October 19. 15, Shores 2,000 surety, reset October 19. 16, Taurus is a 4,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Trainer is a $10,000 split bond, reset date October 19th. Position 18 is $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. It's further notice. 19, Yarborough is a 500, was a 2,500 split bond, and reset dates October 19. I believe it's a 500 signature bond through the jail and 2,000 surety. And then McClendon's a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Yep. We've all right?
Judge, I'm sorry, just one, position 12, were there any conditions?
That was, no, there were none required.
Okay, thank you.
I think I normally just say no driving unless you have a valid driver's license, insurance and registration.
Did you want that on there?
Sure.
Okay.
No, he's not supposed to be driving if he doesn't have insurance, registration or license, so. Anything else? No, we good? All right, everyone, great job. I'm literally calling it a wrap right now.
Oh, just so y'all know, we already got 12 for tomorrow so far.
So far. Okay, let's see if we can keep it at that number. Thank you. All right, everyone.